Hello and welcome to our first live stream reading. Um, this is the Gemini full moon forecast. And if you haven't been here before, my name is Shea Walker. I'm a professional intuitive and oracle deck creator, and I do these readings on the new and full moon every month. But normally they are pre-recorded, and this month I decided to go live with it. So we're going to see how this goes. If you are here on the live, feel free to pop into the chat. There might even be like stickers and things like that you can do. I don't know. It's my first time, but I've watched a couple lives, so I know the terminology and the phrasing. And we're going to dive into some cards. So the way that this works is the general collective, which is who you are if you're watching this on YouTube or later on Instagram, and you get a general collective reading. And that's a reading that's tapping into anyone that has ever watched or will ever watch this video. If you want to intensify your energy being stamped on the video, you want to like or subscribe on YouTube, because that's kind of like when you get your tarot card reading in person and the reader has you cut the deck or pick the cards. Essentially, it's just your way of interacting with the energy of this reading. So if you hit those buttons, you'll kind of have a little more influence on what's about to come through. And then if you want a really specific reading, head over to the Patreon after that, because we're going to switch live streams over there, and I'm going to do my Patreon specific reading, which dives more into the specific sign by sign interpretation of what this Gemini moon is going to be like. So did I say new moon? Full moon, whatever it is. If you want, head over there, patreon.com/Shea. It is the monthly mystic level that gets access to these extended readings. And if you are not in the mood to join for a free trial, which why not, then I hope to see you around here for more general collective readings. Obviously, if you want a hyper personalized reading, I do offer one-on-one sessions. You can find all that information over at michelleshewalker.com. So with that all out of the way, we're going to move into our first card pull. So our first card is always from the deck that I created, Total Betty Goddess deck. If you are a fan of Divine Feminine Energy or the 90s, this is definitely a deck for you. This is the second edition. It's currently in pre-order over at michelleshewalker.com. The first edition, which has 10 less cards and a slightly different packaging, has 9 copies left. So if you want something in time for the holidays, you can go get the OG version and purchase that for yourself or for a friend. But if you're looking to just get the most up-to-date version, this will be out early 2024. So you want to put your pre-orders now, because pre-orders are ideally going to get the lowest price of the printing. If I don't get as many pre-orders as I hoped, then the price is going to go up, unfortunately. So you want to purchase that now so that you lock in the current price. So with that in mind, we'll move into this reading, and I'm going to shuffle up the deck. So who is coming in for our Divine Feminine Energy underneath this Gemini full moon? This Gemini full moon feels like a lot of energy. It's a special day for me. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know why. But essentially, I'm very connected to the other side on this particular date. And it feels like the Gemini moon is very much about communication. And so if you do have an inkling to want to connect to the other side, your spirit guides, your angels, maybe past loved ones, it's not a bad day to try that on. And we're going to see who's assisting in that communication. Whoa, we got a jumper. Hang on. Normally, I get to cut this out whenever I reach for the card, but not on a live. So our card today is Kali, played by 90s Jenny McCarthy. So this is not a card that's necessarily gentle, but a card that I kind of expected for the energy of this full moon. So this is kind of Tower card energy. So if you are familiar with the tarot cards, the Tower card, which is part of the major arcana, is about a very sudden and intense change. It's kind of like the Saturn return of tarot cards. So I'm using a lot of new age terminology to define each of these things. So let's break it down. The Tower card normally depicts a tower that's in some way being under deconstruction, like it's been struck by lightning, it's on fire, like it's crumbling to the ground. And honestly, I don't love the Tower card. I have a better relationship with the Tower card after several years encountering the Tower card in my own life than I used to. But you can't fear change when the Tower card comes about. The lesson behind the Tower card and behind Kali is that you can be in charge of the story, but you have to be aware of where you're where your dark side is, where your blind spots are, where you're not living your truest, highest purpose. And you have to be willing and brave enough to tear down those things that aren't working for you. So the reason I said it's like the Saturn return of the tarot cards is because Saturn return is something that happens approximately every 30 years in your life. So if you were like 28, 29, 30, and you started to feel like your life was like crumbling around you and all the stuff that you built up was coming down, it's because at those points when Saturn returns in your chart, you get tested to see if you're on your divine path, if you're following the path that's meant for you. And so especially the first Saturn return when you're like 28, 29, 30, you have usually kind of half been living your path, but half been living for other people. You've been doing things to please your parents, to please your partner, to please the people around you. And so that tends to be the most intense one because you're a little off your path. And the universe is like, we're going to tear down the stuff that's not actually building towards your ultimate goal. And then you get to start over. You get to start fresh. And so it feels kind of awful when you're going through a tarot card moment because it feels like you're looking at all the stuff that you worked so hard to achieve or to do or to manifest into being, and you're seeing it all crumble around you. But the ultimate message behind these cards, these moments, is that if you were to build higher on the foundation that you started, it was gonna crumble eventually anyway. It was a flawed foundation. And so the Tower card is actually a blessing in disguise because it's saving you from having a Tower card moment that's even bigger 30 more years down the road. So if you were actually physically building a building, you'd want to know from the ground up that the foundation needed work. You'd want to know before you started building. And so if you ended up getting 3 stories high and realized that there was a problem with the foundation, it would be awful because you would have to tear down all those 3 stories. But at the same time, you're like, oh, thank goodness I didn't get this 200 stories high and then have the foundation crack and everything come tumbling down without me even having anything to do with it. So that's the message behind Kali and the Tower card, is that if there's something in your life that's not working, that's not in alignment with your true purpose, with your true path, this is your opportunity to take the wheel, to take the battering ram in hand, and to choose to tear down what's not working and start from scratch and build again. If, because you have free will, you choose to not do that, to not tear down those myths, to not tear down what's not working and start fresh, the universe will do it for you. It might do it tomorrow, might do it next week, it might do 30 years down the road, but ultimately you're going to have to start again no matter what. So why not do it from your own place of empowerment, from your choice, to recognize that this isn't for you and you want to move on. So a lot of times this happens in jobs that we feel comfortable with and that we don't feel like we want to leave. Sometimes happens in relationships that maybe we've had around for a really long time that have already served their purpose. They've served their karmic path in our life and it's time to move forward, but you just don't want to be alone. And that is when a Tower card rears its head. That's when Kali comes in to destroy the myths that are anything but your authentic truth. So let this be your warning that if there's anything that you have that little voice inside of you telling you is not you anymore, it's not working for you, it's not leading to where you want to go, this week, this moon is your opportunity to start your process of tearing down what's not working so that you can rebuild. I feel this in my life. If you do too, feel free to leave a comment, leave a like, leave whatever it is that makes you let me know that you are resonating with this message. And we're going to dive into the rest of our general collective reading. So I'm switching things up this week. I've been using a lot of the Modern Witch Tarot, and I felt called today to go back to my original first tarot deck, which is the Wild Unknown. This is like an old friend. We have a shorthand with one another, and it feels like it's more of my witchy deck. And today's been a very witchy day, so it just felt fitting. So we're going to pull about 10, 11 cards. It's going to be a longer past, present, future reading is what I'm doing for this general collective. This used to be what I would do in the Patreon Extended. I would do the signs for the general collective, and then I would switch things up for the longer reading in the Patreon. But I kind of like moving it this way because basically we're taking larger energy and shrinking it down little by little as we go. And so the fact that I'm doing the larger reading for the general collective, I then break it down not only into smaller increments of energy, we just had a card fall out, with the astrology signs on the Patreon, but also the fact that the Patreon has less members. So each sign that I'm tapping into, I'm not only tapping into just the people on the Patreon, but then all of those people on the Patreon don't necessarily have the same signs. So it becomes a really, really personalized reading over there. So with that in mind, let's see, I can see the card that fell and we're going to get into it. All right, hang on. So the card that flew out of the deck, our first card in our recent past, is the Devil card. And we'll get into that a little bit more when we pull all the other ones. So next card in the recent past, the Wheel of Fortune. Next card in the recent past. I can't make this up. The Tower card. I was just talking about the Tower card in reference to Kali. So right before this full moon, we've gone through our Tower card moments. We've had the realization at the very least that something needs to go. Or you might have had something removed from your life forcefully. You might have had someone that break up with you. You might have been laid off from your job. You might have had a notice that you have to move. Like there's something in your life that either you know needs to change or that the universe has shown you needs to change. But let's talk about how there's nothing but major arcana in our recent past. So we have been building these past few months towards a destined path, because when major arcana comes up, it's a sign that while we always have free will, the universe has a lot of energy behind major arcana cards. Whereas if it's a minor arcana card, we're the one kind of steering the car, driving the chariot, whatever it is. In this case, the universe is like, we see where we're going. We're going to give you a big push that direction. So we've gotten a lot of big pushes recently. And I would even go back as far as a year. In the past year, I think there's been a lot of life changes and a lot of realizations that have been coming up. We've been recognizing the patterns in our life that are addictive and not healthy for us. If you are codependent, if you are having feelings of lack around abundance that are keeping you in a job that doesn't make you happy, if you are just a people pleaser and you're constantly trying to please everyone around you and you're addicted to that pleasing of others and their feedback and their reward system, but you never please yourself. Like this is breaking addictive patterns. The Wheel of Fortune is learning to take the good with the bad. So I think that this past 2023 has been a roller coaster for most of us. And it's been to teach us that fact that every time we have a downswing on the wheel, it's because there's an upswing coming later. You cannot have a wheel moving forward without downswings. So you can't really judge yourself or judge your life or feel down on the fact that you're having a couple downswings, because it means that you have momentum. It means that you're moving forward. So if there's things that didn't go well for you this year, start to notice the things that started to go well right afterwards. Maybe not right afterwards, but like there's always a cycle. There's always a pattern of upswing, downswing, upswing, downswing. And the downswings make us appreciate the upswings that much deeper. Then we have the Tower card. Again, this could be that we are intuitive enough to recognize that the Tower is coming and we're preparing to extract ourselves from a situation that's not serving us. Or it could be that we're turning a blind eye to that and we're living in a state of fear and we don't want change. And the universe will be doing that Tower for us, or already has done that Tower for us. Up next, we have the present underneath this full moon. We have the Daughter of Pentacles, the Eight of Wands, and the Six of Cups. Okay, this is a gentler energy than what we've just come from. So the Daughter of Pentacles is a sign that it's not a bad time right now to kind of be doing some behind the scenes work. So let's take, for instance, the idea that maybe your Tower card moment is that you realize that your job that you're at or your career that you're in is no longer for you. The Daughter of Pentacles indicates that underneath this full moon, we're not necessarily coming out with like a big announcement that we're leaving our job. Maybe you're not even putting in your 2 weeks notice. Trust your intuition on that. Like maybe you're putting in your 2 weeks notice, maybe you're not. but you're working behind the scenes to prepare for that transition. You're putting in new applications, you're updating your LinkedIn, you're doing the things that you know are going to need to get done. That's kind of like the nitty-gritty, that's like not all the glory of the transition, and you're making that happen. And the reason you're doing that is this is a kind of a spread of luck is preparation meeting opportunity, because if you can get the behind the scenes stuffs ready, there's going to be a sudden change, sudden movement, like a strike of lightning. There's something that wants to come in the time period around and following this Gemini full moon that's an opportunity that you want to be ready for. And I had a very similar reading to this. I do a weekly distance Reiki send and reading for my Patreon members, and I also put a little bit of that message out on my Instagram. So if you want to follow that, at Michelle Shea, every Sunday. And this Sunday's message, yesterday's message, was that it's like the breath that you take before you pull the trigger on a gun. Like that's the moment that we're having right now. And that like we want to take just a second to center ourselves and to get rid of the jitters, because there's going to be a lot of momentum as soon as that trigger is pulled. And so there's something that wants to come in very rapidly, but you want to make sure that you've got the behind the scenes stuffs ready. So like I said, use the metaphor of the job for whatever situation works for you. Maybe it's relationship. And you don't have to be sneaky about it. If this is a relationship, like don't be shady and be like planning who you're going to go to next as you are still in a current relationship. Like don't do that. But like if you need to kind of wrap your mind around what it would be like to live alone again if you live with your partner, or what you need to do with your finances to be able to extract yourself from a relationship that's not working for you. That's the kind of stuff that we're doing here. It's just creating a safety net for yourself, or creating the launching pad for yourself if we're talking about like the career and wanting to get all of the stuff ready for a new job. That all comes back around to the Six of Cups. So the Six of Cups in this present energy tells me that, yes, this is a launching pad forward, but it has something to do with our past. If it's a relationship thing, you could be moving into a relationship with someone that you maybe have been in a relationship before, or more likely, or both, it could be a past life relationship. So it could be something that feels very familiar. It feels like you're returning home. If this is a job related thing or just an activity related thing, you're returning to an activity or an inspiration or hobby or something that you loved from your childhood. And so it's like, it's two steps. I don't want to say it's two steps forward, one step back, because it's not what that metaphor means or that idiom means, but it's a launching pad forward, but returning to your truest self. So that's beautiful. So moving on into our future, we have the Father of Cups, the Ten of Cups, and the Three of Cups. I love this energy. And then I'm going to pull underneath the deck just for our underlying sort of hidden energy, Father of Wands. So that's going to influence this reading as well. So in the future, the Father of Cups, the Ten of Cups, and the Three of Cups. First of all cups energy, so much love and creativity coming forward for us because we had the courage to make this Tower card decision on our own. So as you have made this plan for yourself to extract yourself from something that's not aligned with your highest self, you're going to be rewarded for that. If this is a love reading for you, the Father of Cups is a really great sign that there is a very romantic and emotionally available partner in your future. If it's a business related or a creativity, like life purpose related thing, this is going to unlock so much creativity. So I know that I can speak for myself, and like I'm a writer and I'm currently in the process of making some changes in my life to be able to write more. And this would be a message to me that says, when you make those changes, the inspiration will come flooding in for the stuff that you want to write. And the same thing with the Ten of Cups. Like the Ten of Cups is nothing but a vibrant, creative, loving, flowing energy and an equal exchange among all parties. So this is a very community-based card too. So like if you're moving from one job environment or one social environment to another environment, this indicates that there's going to be a lot more connectivity. It might be that you've grown out of a lot of your relationships, a lot of your friendships, and they like are old and comfortable, but they're not serving you. And you might be afraid to go into a new social situation because you don't have that old connection. But this card is telling us that, like, whether we're in new connections with friends, family, loved ones, job, it's going to be so much more vibrant, even though they're new relationships, because you have that connection over the passion and your life purpose. The Three of Cups kind of echoes that because it's a card of like community. It's also kind of like a nice little witchy coven card. I told you there's a reason I pulled out the witchy deck. And it's basically being able to manifest and make magic with your nearest and dearest. It's very divine feminine energy. Cups in general are, but especially the Three of Cups, it's very divine feminine energy. And I say that not as male, female, but as in on the spectrum of interest and energies in your life and in yourself, the more you can embrace the manifestation, meditation, intuition, less action, and more preparing your energy to receive good things. Hang out with those people. Those are the people that you want to be hanging out with right now. Is like the people that are just creating magic in their own energy and calling things in. And also surround yourself with people that have created lives that look like what you want. Like this could be an up leveling in, like, you know, the whole saying of you are the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Make sure you're spending time with people whose lives, whose spirituality, whose authentic true nature reflects back to you what you feel or what you want to feel. The Father of Wands underneath does indicate that there's a deep, deep spiritual connection to our life's purpose that's riding this whole thing through, which makes sense because, again, like I said, it's very Saturn return energy. Even if it's not your Saturn return, it's about tapping into the part of yourself that knows your mission on this planet. And your mission on this planet doesn't have to be something like you're going to feed all the starving people in the world. It can be that you're here to spread joy. It can be that you're here to make people laugh. It can be that you're here to inspire people. It can be that you're here to create. But whatever your, what we call in yoga, sankalpa is, whatever your mission statement is, that's what's going to carry you through all these decisions. So I encourage you underneath this full moon to get clear on that mission statement, even if it's a simple statement. Again, it could be, I am here to create, or I am here to love, or I am here to laugh. Whatever it is, you can make it as long and involved or as short and sort of mantra-like as feels comfortable to you, but you want to have something that you're tethering your energy to as you move through these changes, because anything after a Tower card can feel a little unsettling. So you want a constant. For my old school life lost fans, you want to find your constant to tether your energy to, so that when you're moving through all these different timelines, you have something to come back to that's your core center self. Whew. That was a big message, but we're going to do even more. So if you want the sign by sign readings, I'm going to move over to the Patreon. If you are watching this on the Patreon, or you're watching this waiting for the Patreon version, I'm creating another live stream right now. So you'll see that in the feed on Patreon, and I'll meet you there. And if you haven't been seeing this live, I'm hoping that these record, and I'll be reposting the extended reading as a recording in the Patreon shop. So you can purchase that via a link that I will eventually put below, either as a single reading, or you can join the Patreon for the same amount and get access to all of the readings and everything else that's over there. So happy Gemini full moon. Be gentle with yourself. Get that shit covered behind the scenes so that you know that you can move forward. And I'm sending you good vibes.